How you doing today, guys? This is Alex Gomez, your favorite teacher in the whole world. Today we're going to talk about ratios and pi. So what I want to talk about today is just a little bit about the background on circles and where all these numbers and symbols come from, okay? So with ratios and pi, let's say we have a circle. Now we have a line. Does anybody remember what this line is called?
Half.
Anybody? It's not half.
It's a sphere.
It's not integer. Diameter, very good.
So smart.
Now, the thing is that we have right here, we have a symbol. That symbol is pi. And pi has a value. Okay? And the value of pi that we're going to be using is just going to be 3.14. Now, pi is an irrational number. And an irrational, like we talked at the beginning of the year, a rational number had terminating decimals, repeating decimals, something predictable. In the case of the irrational, is everything that whenever you divide, it never repeats. There's not a pattern. And you will never get a remainder of 0. So this number is actually just a rounded number. The real number is the decimals never stop. So the ones that I know for sure is 3.1416. This is what I used to look at when I went to school. Whenever I was finding the area or whatever, whenever I need to multiply by pi, I needed to multiply by those 4 decimals as well. Now, we're just going to use this right here in 7th grade, 8th grade as well. Okay? We don't need to worry about that. Now, this number is also still reduced from 1, 5, 9, and then it keeps going and going and going and going. Okay? So that number never stops. Now, the other version that you can see, and it's going to be asked from you to use, is in a form of a fraction, 22/7. So depending on what they're asking for, that's the one that you're going to use. You're either going to use 3.14 or 22/7. Now, what do we know about this? We know there's a relationship between the circumference and the pi. So the diameter equals circumference divided by pi. Okay? So that's the relationship between circumference and pi. So every time you see 2 circles, they're always going to be similar because the proportions are going to be the same. Just like on the squares, the proportions are always the same. Now, let's move on. So we said the full line is called a what? Diameter. It's represented by lowercase d. And if I have another circle with the line from the center of the circle to the edge, it has a different name. Does anybody remember what? Radius. Very good. And it's represented by a lowercase r. Now, whether you know one or you know the other one, you can easily come up with the other one. So let's say the diameter is the whole line. So it's like this. So the radius is just half of it. Diameter, radius. Diameter, radius. Diameter, radius. Okay? Don't forget that. Again, the diameter is the whole thing, and the radius is half. With that being said, if I have the diameter, if I need to find the diameter with the radius given to me, let's pretend the radius is 4. What is my diameter?
8.
8. What do?
You double it.
You double it. You multiply times 2. So the formula is 2 times the radius. Right? So if you're given the radius to be 4, the diameter is 8. So just double that. Now, if I have another circle, again, the diameter is 2 times the radius. So if I need to find the radius, what do you think you're gonna do? Instead of multiplying, we're gonna divide. So we're gonna do the diameter divided by 2. So in the case that I have a circle with a diameter of 10, my radius is gonna be 5. So it's gonna be 10 divided by 2, which is 5. It's that simple.
Oh.
Any questions so far?
No.
Now, the thing about this is that at the beginning it said ratios and pi. Ratios and pi. So we're gonna use the circumference and pi to find out if they're proportional or not. So, well, they are, but let's look at an example like this. Let's say I have a small circle with a diameter of 4 and a circumference of, how do you find, does anybody know how to find a circumference of a circle?
No.
And a circumference of 12.56 centimeters. By the way, to find the circumference, let's do it over here. Circumference is represented by the letter C, capitalized. Now the circumference is the same thing as perimeter, so it's the outside of a circle, okay? So, if it's the outside of a circle, I have an example right here. I have a chair. Right here, this is the circumference, not the inside. The inside is area, and we're gonna talk about that later. Now, how does that relate? Another example. I have a tape measure right here in the shape of a circle. And I put up a line right here. Now, if you look at this line, I'm gonna open up this tape. Well, somebody used this, so let me make a new line. So I'm gonna put a line where I'm gonna start opening it, right here. And from here, I'm just gonna open this thing up, and I'm gonna roll it out until I hit the line again.
Whoa. Are we gonna do that?
Right there.
Can I do it?
So this whole line, this right here, is the circumference of the circle. Now it's linear now. So I'm wrapping the circle around with it. That's exactly what the circumference is. It's the outside of a circle. And we're gonna need to know that later on, especially when we talk about surface area and when we talk about volume. So, let's see. Circumference, we have a formula for that. Actually, two. And these two formulas are gonna be given to you. Every time you take a test, the formula is gonna be given to you. So if you wanna make notes of this, you should have already have these two written somewhere. Now circumference is just pi times diameter. They're just multiplying. We know pi is what? 3.14 or 22/7. Now the other formula for circumference is gonna be 2 times pi times r. What does that mean? I have a 2 now. And this one I don't have any numbers. All I have is letters, right? Now let's look at this. On this one, what did I use? D4 diameter. Now let's look at this. Radius is diameter, or diameter is 2 times the radius. 2r. Now you can multiply in any order if you want. So you can easily, if this doesn't make sense to you, you can do pi to r. It'll be the same thing. So that way you can just multiply the number times 2 and then times 3.14. Now with that being said, let's say I have a small circle with the diameter of 4 and a circumference of 12.56. And I have a larger circle with a diameter of 12 centimeters. What is my circumference? So just like we did on similar figures and scale drawings, we're gonna do the same thing right here. So I know 2 things about them. Well, on one of them. On one of them I know the circumference and the diameter. And the other one, I know the diameter, I'm missing the circumference. So I have 3 things, and I need 4. So with 3 things, I can find the other one. Let's see. And we're gonna use a proportions. We're gonna use proportions to find this and not the circumference formula. So pay attention. I have the small circle and I have the big circle. And the information that I have is circumference and diameter. And I'm just gonna set them up. Do I know the circumference for the small one?
12.56.
Do I know the diameter for the small one? 4. Do I know the circumference for the big one?
No.
And the diameter for the big one? 12. So now before you do cross products, because this is one of the ones that require you to do cross products, before you do that, check and see. Can I multiply 4 times something to get 12.56?
No.
Not like literally in your mind. You can do it on paper, but it'll take a little while. Can you multiply 4 times something to get 12?
Yes, 3.
Times 3. So if you multiply this times 3, you should get the answer. So if you multiply 12.56 times 3, you get 37 points. Point what?
37.68. Ya la
So
había-
x equals 37.68, and these are centimeters. Now the other way to do this is to keep working with cross products. So I'm gonna change the color so that you can see the difference. So you're gonna do 4x equals 12 times 12.56 gives you 150.72, and then you divide by 4, and x equals 37.68 centimeters. So either way is gonna give you the same answer. So when I ask you to set up a proportion of the two circles, this is what they want you to do. So label them, the small and the big, circumference, diameter. What if they give you the radius? Can you find the diameter? If they give you the radius to be 6, can you find the diameter? What is it?
12.
Radius is 6,
12.
diameter is 12, right? So you gotta pay attention to this right here. Whatever they give you, you should be able to come up with the other one. Any questions for today, guys?
No.
Well, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe. That's it for today, guys. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.